Welcome everyone. My name is Eugeniusz Romer and this is Układ Sił, a foreign policy magazine from Poland. And today we are going to discuss the situation in Georgia after the controversial election. And we are going to do it straight from Georgia because today I'm hosting Arabella Kordzakhià, a Georgian journalist from working for Myth Detector. It's a fact-checking website. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
How are you doing? As far as I know, there were massive protests in Georgia after the results were published, and this is what the president of Georgia, which is who is against the ruling party, was calling for. So, how many people actually decided to go on the streets?
Yeah, right. We had a huge protest yesterday. Actually, people were not expecting like that many people because we are all tired. Like the whole year, we were having a lot of protests. You probably nowadays. But people do not recognize the results of the elections, which was held in October 28th and 26th. And the president of Georgia also, she said that she does not recognize the results, and she basically called for this protest. And thousands of people gathered yesterday to protect their votes. And you probably heard some statements from our international partners and local observation missions. They are collecting evidence to prove that elections were rigged because there have been tens and hundreds of different types of violations in the process of elections and in the pre-election period. So, and our international partners are calling us to collect all the evidence to prove if the elections were rigged. But many people in Georgia believe it was rigged because after the policy that Georgian Dream was implementing in Georgia, after this agents law that was adopted and their statements, many believe it was impossible for Georgian Dream to win the majority. But according to the Central Election Committees, they won 43.9%, which is enough for the parliament. To have a majority. And the fact is, all the polls before elections and exit polls also were saying that they could not win the majority, and the opposition was leading in the exit polls, except for the ones that was held by the pro-government media outlet. But the most reliable exit poll in Georgia, which is conducted by Edison Research, and every election they are conducting exit polls, and their result was always close to the final result. But this time they declared that according to the exit poll, the result of the Georgian Dream was 40%. But we have almost 54, which is like 14% more than exit polls showed. This is the first time that the result of Edison Research and the result from the Central Election Commissions are very different from each other. So it is quite difficult to say what happened because observation missions, they are saying that they uncovered like the grand scheme of rigging elections. It was not just I don't know, happening on the polling stations. It was also before elections. They were paying some money for people to vote for Georgian Dream. They say they were also blackmailing people using administrative resources, for instance, like public servants who work for government institutions. It's quite the old methods from the governments that they are blackmailing people that they might lose their jobs or their family members might lose their job if they won't vote for the ruling party. And another thing is that we had also like a lot of violations in the process. And for instance, the marking procedure was violated, which means that when you are voting in the polling station, and if the marking procedure is violated, that allows you to vote in another polling station. For instance, if the registrar like does not check your marking and you can vote like multiple times, which observers say that happened a lot in Georgia. So there have been like a lot of different methods of violation.
Yes, as you said, the difference between the exit poll results and the actual results is very huge. So it doesn't sound credible. And also, Aussie observers, as you said, they they noticed a lot of incidents of violations. For example, paying people to vote in a certain way or intimidating them. And also organizations like the European Union or NATO or also the government of the United States. They called for an investigation, independent one, which is going to check whether those elections were stolen or not. So, do you think this kind of investigation has any chance to materialize, actually?
Yeah, I mean, let's hope because according to the observation missions, they collected I mean, hundreds of materials like videos and photos and some complaints from the observers that can prove that elections were rigged. And what our international partners are saying that we should prove that elections were rigged, and I mean, it has to happen in the country, right? So, and that's why our observation missions are working to collect all the possible proofs and evidences they have. And yesterday they had a briefing, the local monitoring mission, and they said that they actually demand annulment from the 189 polling station. This could lead of annulment of the votes from 300,000 people, which could totally change the results of the election. So if they can prove this, that the vote of 300,000 people were actually rigged, it could absolutely affect the result of elections. But this is an ongoing process. Let's see what happens. Observers and the monitoring mission in Georgian opposition believe they can prove the elections were rigged. Because we have actually seen a lot of materials online as well, but there are also a lot of complaints from observers that could also help and support this process.
And also, many people claim, including the president of Georgia, that there was a large Russian meddling, actually, or interference in the election process. So, do you believe that really happened? That Russia somehow, using different or variety of methods, was actually interfering with the elections?
Well, we cannot say directly if the Russia, I mean, if the result was influenced by Russia or not. We need to have a proof for that. But what also President said is that our government used the same methods like Russia uses to rig the elections, like all this violation of the procedures and etc. But if the Russia was directly involved or not, at the moment we do not have as this evidence like to say that 100% it was done by Russia.
And how about, let's say, the sentiment towards Russia and Georgia? Because once Georgia was considered a really strong, maybe not anti-Russia, but pro-Western former Soviet republic. And right now, we actually hear that many people want those, let's say, multi-vector politics towards the West, towards Russia, towards China. So, do you think that this sentiment towards Russia in Georgia is strong?
Well, it changes over time a lot, I would say. I mean, every poll conducted in Georgia shows that like the majority of Georgians are pro-Europeans. They want to join NATO and European Union. But at the same time, we see the results that people are voting for pro-Russian country. I mean, a pro-Russian party. Georgian Dream like openly declares they are pro-European, but what we can see from their like moves and from their statements, they are pro-Russian political party. But as for this, I mean, sentiments, some people from old generation might still have some sentiments, and it's understandable because they lived like in Soviet Union, they grew up there, and they have some mm, sentiments from their young ages, let's say. But I cannot say that this is a like the vast majority of Georgians. This is a number of people in Georgia, like maybe few percent. But still, I mean, the majority of Georgians are, according to all the polls, local and international, are pro-Europeans. Yeah.
Yes, as far as I know, 80% of Georgians actually want the country to join the European Union. Maybe a little bit less, they want to join NATO. And this is actually what the party Georgian Dream says. They also claim they want Georgia to join the EU. But as you said, this is only, let's say, a rhetorics, but in fact, they are not doing any steps towards achieving this goal. So why actually would you say that Georgian Dream is actually a pro-Russian party?
Mhm. Because, I mean, Georgian Dream openly declares that they are pro-European. They also want to join the European Union, but we have heard some statements from our international partners from EU that, for instance, about this law that was adopted in the spring, this agents law, said this is against of EU regulations and they should withdraw this law because this could actually jeopardize Georgia's European future. They made these statements, and but nevertheless, our government decided to continue this way and decided to adopt this law. And I mean, besides everything they do, it's like the methods that they are using to rule the country, and they are kind of copying everything from the Russia. And about the election, for instance, the first country to, I mean, the Hungary also made a statement like supporting Georgian Dream, only Hungary from the European Union, let's say. And we all know why, because yeah, but except of the Hungary, I mean, Russia was the first who was openly supporting Georgia in this regarding saying that Georgians won, Georgians like chose the right political party. And when we hear this kind of statements and like from Russian politicians and from Russian government, this is also sign that they like our government. So, and if government is approved by Russia, this is also quite a sign that our government is quite pro-Russian. Because
So how do you think the future of Georgia will look like now? Maybe the nearest future, because as we discussed at the beginning, many people are protesting. So do you think that those protests are going to take any effect on Georgian Dream or in the situation in the parliament?
yeah, I mean, difficult to say if what will be the result of the protest, but it's important to show our Western partners that people are protecting their votes, people are against rigging the elections, and if we can prove the elections were rigged, I think that could totally change our future. Like because otherwise, if we accept the results, we already know what happens because our Western partners already warned us that if this government continues this way, it will jeopardize your European integration. So it's really important to right now to prove that elections were rigged, and after that we can just talk about our European future. Otherwise, it will be very questionable. There have been cases, they've been saying also that they might cancel the visa liberalization also, which is could be on the table. So if this happens, a lot of Georgians might lose their jobs because of this benefit. Like thousands of Georgians went abroad to work, and this opportunity also might be lost. So a lot of things. A lot of benefits we have at the moment from the European Union, but after this result, all this might twist totally.
So do you think, finally, this is my final question, whether democracy actually in Georgia is in danger? Because if the party is going to get away with stealing the election, if they stole it, well, maybe it will encourage them in the future to also do the same thing. So it means they are going to rule very, very long, and the democratic process is going to be ruined. So do you think this is a probable scenario for your country?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, the fundamental right of the democracy is election also. If it's not possible to hold election in the country, what kind of democracy are we talking? And besides, Georgian Dream promised if they win the majority, they are going to ban opposition parties. And if you have no one to oppose the government, what kind of democracy we can talk about? So it's really dangerous to keep this government in the. And if the next 4 years they will remain in power, I just don't want to imagine what kind of laws they will adopt in the future. So yeah, this is very likely scenario if they remain in the power.
So, thank you very much for this very interesting interview and an insight from Georgia. Stay strong and take care. And I hope we will have more chances to discuss situation in Georgia in the future. Thank you. It was Arabella Kordzakhià from Georgia from the Myth Detector fact-checking website. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And many thanks to our viewers. Goodbye.